Why fathers need a copy of the Acknowledgement of Paternity in Oklahoma. I'm told Attorney James Wirth, and that is the issue that we're dealing with, the Acknowledgement of Paternity. A lot of people say, got to get a copy of the birth certificate. It's important to have a copy of the birth certificate of your child. But for fathers, when they are not married to the mother, it's actually important not necessarily that they have a copy of the birth certificate. They need the Acknowledgement of Paternity. Now, the Acknowledgement of Paternity is the document that is signed. Typically, it's signed at the hospital. It doesn't have to be. It could be signed anytime thereafter by the biological father and the mother. And that's the document that goes to DHS Vital Statistics in order to put the father's name on the birth certificate. But you want to have that document itself as well. And why do you want to have that? There's essentially two different reasons. And it has to do with a new statute that went into effect not that long ago, providing equal rights for fathers. So previously, for a child that was born out of wedlock, the law said that mom's got de facto sole custody. Now it's not quite as clear. Now what it says is that if a father has an acknowledgement of paternity that has him listed as the father, he should have effectively equal rights, just as if both parents were married and the child was born into that marriage. So that new statute's been around a couple years, Title 63, Section 1-311, and it notes that when the parents are not married, the father gets on the birth certificate two different ways. One is by going to court, either an administrative court, with the Department of Human Services, or your local county district court for paternity determination. Either one of those ways can get him on the birth certificate by going through a judicial process. But there's one way you can get on the birth certificate without having to go through all of those things, and that is through an acknowledgement of paternity. This is what it says. How do we get on the birth certificate? The mother and the father have agreed as to the biological paternity of the child and signed an acknowledgement of paternity pursuant to other code here, or substantially similar affidavit from another state and filed it with the state registrar of vital statistics. Now, this is the new part. Just a couple years ago, it says, this, meaning the signing of an acknowledgement of paternity, shall give the mother and father equal rights and obligations to the child. That's what's different. Previously, mom would have de facto sole custody. This says if there's an acknowledgement of paternity, equal rights. A child whose parentage has been determined as set forth shall be treated as a child of parents who were married at the time of birth. So if you've got this, that makes the father should have equal rights and responsibilities to the child. But how do you prove that? Well, you need a copy of that acknowledgement. The other very important way that comes up, we see this a lot. If dad's got concerns regarding how the child is being cared for at mom's and believe that it's an emergency situation, meaning that the child is in imminent danger of irreparable harm, then he can file for an emergency proceeding to get custody. However, he only has standing to do that if he's the father. But how do you prove that you're the father when it's an emergency ex parte proceeding? You've got to have that acknowledgement of paternity. And it takes a little bit of time to get those acknowledgments of paternity from Vital Statistics back. So you want to have a copy of it. Should anything come up, you can use that, prove that you're the father. It gives you standing to file for an emergency. Otherwise, a lot of times, fathers don't have that, and us as attorneys getting in, representing them, protecting the child, getting emergency custody, we can't file a regular custody action. We have to file a guardianship as if the dad that we're representing is not even the biological father of the child. If we have enough time, we can request that acknowledgement of paternity, but if you've got it up front, that's even better. So for dads in Oklahoma, you want to have a copy of that acknowledgement of paternity if you were not married to the mother. Any questions about this scenario, or you're going through that, you're going to want to talk to an attorney privately and confidentially for legal advice, not just information from a video on the internet. To get an appointment scheduled with an attorney at my office, go online to makelaweasy.com.